What is up guys, and welcome back to SP Vids. In this video I've got the SP404sx out just so you know that I haven't completely forgotten about this machine since buying the MPC Live 2. I thought I'd do a little video on this one today, and again it's a topic that I've talked about before actually. It's the subsonic effect on the SX. And it's so useful, this effect, for obviously adding low end to your beats. So on the surface this doesn't come across as that useful, this effect, I don't think, but with a few little tips and tricks you can really get this to a place where it's helping you a lot with your beats, especially obviously at the low end side of things. So let's go ahead and talk about this little tip I wanted to show you today. So I think the first video I did about this was kind of just making the subsonic trigger and make a note every so often on a drum loop, which is fairly boring, but it can help to just add a bit of low end to your lo-fi beats and make them a bit more interesting. The next video I did basically talked about sampling out individual notes and then using, say, the pattern sequencer to be able to do full bass lines, or dropping those into your DAW and using them to do full bass lines. This one's a kind of a hybrid between the two, and the reason I wanted to share it really was because it's just a lot of fun to play around with. So let's get into this one and I'll talk you through what I did. So on pad 12 down here I've got a little drum loop. Nothing too crazy as usual, just something really simple so you guys can get the idea of this. These drums are from my Lo-Fi Drums Volume 3 pack. If you want to support the channel, I'd really appreciate that. Head to SP Vids and you can pick these packs up and other drum packs as well that I've created. So I've got that on a pad and we're going to go ahead and apply subsonic to this, which is MFX 23. So I'm going to press MFX and DJ Looper and 11, and 23 comes up. So there we go, that's working. So you can hear there that it's only creating one note. We want to make things a little bit more exciting, a little bit more interesting. So I'll talk you through the parameters. The blue dial here, which is the right hand dial, that changes the balance. So basically the more to the left it's pointing, the more sample you're going to hear. The more to the right you're pointing, the more sub you're going to hear. So I'll keep that around about here, which is about 10 or 11 o'clock. The green dial changes the threshold. So basically what this is doing is it's waiting for the signal to get to a certain volume and then it's going to trigger the subsonic noise. So the lower you have this, the more sensitive it's going to be basically. So we'll have this around about the same setting as well. Actually, let's change that up to about 12 o'clock for now. And the final dial is the pitch, and obviously this is going to be what we're playing around with on the fly as we're trying to create this effect that I'm going to show you. So we need to have access to this. So it's quite difficult to play the same notes every time with this if you've got your hand like this, because it's quite a sensitive dial. So I recommend putting your hand on the side and just using your finger and thumb. This, for some reason for me, works a lot better. It's more precise. It might not for you guys, but give it a try. Hopefully it'll help you out. So what we're going to do is resample that drum loop, and we're going to jam this dial on the left hand side and create some sort of interesting bass line. So let's give that a go. Resample, record, and I'm going to choose pad 8, which I'm not sure if you'll be able to see is flashing here, but hopefully you can. The lighting may be causing issues for that. And record flashing now, so we're going to hit record and we're going to be ready. Let's have our hand here ready for this. Okay, so that final note was a little bit too low, so it might take you a few goes to get what you want down, and don't forget that you're going to have to match these tones to the samples as well that you're using, so be aware of that when you're creating these bass lines. You don't want to create a bass line, try and put some samples on and find out they don't fit at all. So for the sake of this video, obviously I'm not going to be doing that, but I just want to show you this technique, so we'll try that again. What I'm going to do now is just do a little practice first actually and see what kind of a sound I can get, and hopefully it's something that I can resample. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to go straight ahead and resample it. I've got it wrong straight away, so let's try that again. I'm the great thing about this when you're resampling is if you do get it wrong, you can just wait for the first beat of the bar again and try again. You don't have to keep deleting and re-recording, and then you can just use the mark button on the SX just to mark the start and end point that you want. And obviously it's got truncate as well, using delete, mark, delete. That combination on the pad that you want truncates all the hidden stuff off it. So you don't have to get it right first time, you can keep jamming for a bit and then mark it. I tend to find trimming can get a bit tedious, so I like to re-record it and get it as close as I can. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. Okay, so I like the sound of that, but I think the sub is way too loud. So what I'm going to do is turn this right down. And let's see if we can get a better mix this time. Okay, so I've ended up with either a 2 or a 4 bar loop there, which was a bit more interesting than the last thing I did. Purely by accident, but let's see what that sounds like now. Okay, so that sounded pretty fresh, pretty nice, and then obviously hopefully we can drop some samples on that and get them in the right tune, or would have to go back if we have already got the samples and make sure it's in tune with everything. So yeah, give this a go guys if you haven't tried it before. It's really fun just jamming with the pitch dial while you're resampling, and you can come up with some really interesting effects. And because of the threshold and the balance as well, I feel like it's kind of brings out some ideas which you might not necessarily be able to think of yourself. It just has that little kind of random element that means you may be able to create something that you couldn't actually just sit down and think about yourself. So that's another reason why it's quite fun to mess around and play with that. Okay, so that's Subsonic again guys, and like I say, I wanted to do some SX content just so you know that it's not forgotten. There'll be loads more content coming soon. If you're not subscribed, don't forget to smash that button underneath if you like this kind of content, because I do loads of it, usually 2 or 3 drops a week, so be sure to subscribe. Smash that thumbs up button as well if you can guys, because it really helps me in the algorithms as well to get some new people on these videos. One final thing, don't forget to check out my drum packs on SP Vids, as that's the main thing that funds this channel and keeps me doing what I'm doing with these little tips and tricks, so that would be really good if you could go and have a look at those. Until next time guys, keep making beats, and I'll be back with more content soon. Peace!